So we are going to be talking about round brush base placement. So kind of some of the theme for this week is going through and kind of visiting where styling came from. So I guess you guys saw that this afternoon's class, we're going to do some finger waves. Right now, we're going to do base placement, which base placement is like, it's a universal thing. There are 3 different placements. You can use on base, half base, and off base. And so those are true for like shampoo sets, round brushes, any kind of curl that you're going to do. So they determine your volume. So after you've done your pre-dry round wrap, so I've got her set up for some volume, right? And obviously because we're on a video call, I can't turn my blow dryer on, but you'll get the picture. And then we're going to do our 5 sections for our round brush. And you have the option of a 6th section up here on top. I like to like that muddy piece, right? So we can separate that out and save it for very last. In your blow dry, you're going to start on your dominant side. So you've got the section from your apex to your mastoid process here. Then the back of the head is in 3 sections. And then also apex to mastoid process on the opposite side. And then you have the option for this mohawk panel. And generally when somebody wears their hair in like a side part, this is the way to go, right? If you've got somebody with a center part, you can just go all the way up to that center division line here. For your 2 front side sections. So number 1 most common mistake that we make when we are doing a round brush on straight and wavy hair is we do wet hair. Round brushing is a finishing technique because it's for like 80% dry hair and it works so much better. So it'll take you forever to round brush from wet to dry if you don't have the hair like. So that's why that pre-dry is super, super important. And even if you do a full on like a directional finish, you can come back in and round brush and you'll have the same like great results. So as far as base placement goes, we're going to start by taking a section that's about the size of your round brush. So I'm going to start with my small round brush. A trick for clipping this hair up out of the way, because you are going to be juggling, right? You're going to have a round brush in your hand. You're going to have a blow dryer in your other hand. Right. So if you will hold with tension, so like pull down. So I left my clip sitting here tight on the hair, flip up, and then it keeps everything. You're not having to Zulu knot and everything. So you've got your section that you're working with right here. So for an off base curl, you're going to pull down at 45 degrees. So what that means is whenever you catch the tail and roll this all the way up for a locked brush, it's going to sit below the base, which is the section of scalp that the hair is sprouting off of. And whenever you unlock your brushes, so locking a brush is going to set your curl in. You're going to be leaving a brush sitting in the hair until it cools. So you'll be able to, like, you can do every other. At one point in my life, I had a giant duffel bag that probably had 60 round brushes in it. So I could leave them all locked in the whole head and then move to the next person for like special occasion stuff. It's a really great trick for bridal work, because then you get that bride to sit down and then don't move. Like, have your cocktail, you'll be fine. Like, you can't move because the brushes fall out. Brushes fall out, and messes up your do, and then we're done. So like, that's a good one. It also works on like the mother of the bride that's being crazy, to stop them from running around and freaking out about stuff. Anyway, but so off base is down at 45. Half base is going to be out at 90 degrees. So pulling that hair straight out away from the side of the head. And then on base is going to be lifting it 45 degrees up. Cool. So a half base placement out at 90 degrees. Whenever you catch the tail, wrap that up. In order to lock your brush, once you get right about an inch away from the scalp, you're going to lift, turn, and drop. So it is going to fall, totally normal. There are round brushes in the world that the handles detach. So basically your round brush works like a roller. And when you are unrolling, you literally unroll all the way out, give it a turn, and lay it down. Then with your on base, you're gonna be lifting up 45 degrees, all the way up, catch your tails. This works a lot better with your blow dryer on, all the way down. And see how it doesn't fall as far? It's because it landed sitting right on top of the base there. So, I'm gonna do, usually you're not gonna lock the brush at the hairline. Usually we don't want a ton of like volume around like the face to make width, but with somebody with a longer face shape, adding some width in the style here will give a more oval. So like Sarah Jessica Parker face, like real long stretched out face, adding some width in the sides there gives them the appearance of an oval face shape. But for people like me who are real round, I don't want a lot of width on the sides of my face. All that needs to be off base for my life to make my face look slimmer here. A little bit better. So I'm not gonna lock this one because I don't want like this big 1980s volume on the side. My second section that I come in with is gonna be about the same size as my brush. So if my brush is 1.5 inches, then that means my section size is about 1.5 inches. Grip, flip. So when we get in here and we're round brushing, first things first, we're gonna detangle. We're gonna add heat. So heat the hair up, and you're also heating up your brush. By heating up your brush, it works almost like a curling iron and a blow dry at the same time, right? So I'm gonna add heat, get that hair nice and warm. Then I'm going to start at my base, rotate a quarter turn, down to my mid shaft, rotate a quarter turn, pull through the ends, rotate, ends, and then you keep working your ends until you get them nice and smooth and they're laying down exactly how you like them. And then we're gonna start by rolling up. So you're literally, just like you would a curling iron, rolling this hair up onto your brush. You're gonna lift and lock. And then we let that cool. So while that one's cooling, I'm gonna take down my next section, which is about the size of my next size brush, right? So you have all different sizes of round brush for different lengths and different size of curl. So if I want a bigger curl, I'm gonna use a bigger round brush. If I want a smaller, tighter curl, I use a smaller brush. The size of the curl is determined by the size of the roller or brush that you're using. So I'm gonna detangle. I'm gonna heat this hair up, get it nice and warm, get my brush nice and warm, because the heat from the brush that's sitting there whenever the hair's cooling on it, like as the brush cools, the hair cools, and it locks that style in. So then I'm gonna go ahead and base, rotate, out to mid shaft, rotate, out to the ends, rotate, all the way with my ends. So now I'm doing a half base, right? Catch these ends, and then I'm gonna go ahead and roll her all the way up, lock her down. Now, I'm ready to take this first brush out because it's gotten nice and cool. I'm ready to move to my next section. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my finger on the hair underneath, and I'm gonna lift this brush back up, and I'm gonna unroll it. Literally unroll. So you'll see people who twist, and you can do that, but you have a much higher probability of causing like all these little flyaways, because then once you've done that, you can't run your brush through it and give it that nice smooth finish to set your curl there. So as I finish that, I'm gonna leave this brush here and I'm gonna move to my next section. So I'm working from my dominant side at the front around the head. So I'm right hand dominant. So I start at her right ear, and then I'm gonna move into the back right quadrant of hair in the back and keep going just like that. So as I start my next section, I'm not gonna lock the first one, grip, flip, So you see what I mean by juggling? You're gonna have your brush in your hand, you're gonna have your blow dryer in your hand, you're gonna have to clip and section hair. It takes a little practice and time, but a lot of times whenever you feel like a blow dry is taking forever, it's because, okay, now I've set my blow dryer down, I set my brush down, now I'm gonna do this with the hair, right? So if we can learn to keep everything in our hands as we're going, it'll speed up your finish time. So I'm gonna work, down, 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 brush, 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 all the way through the end, all the way through the end. Stick with them, stay with them. Let go. Next section. So whenever you're like doing a round brush during the process, it's not pretty. It's not supposed to come out pretty. This has like a finished style to it. So once you've got your curls set in, your volume set in, whatever it is that you're looking for, after everything has been blow dried, then you're gonna come back in and maybe with a wide tooth comb, you can totally use your round brush or a styling brush, and you're gonna finish that style out. There's gonna be flyaways. It's gonna be messy a little bit, and that's totally fine. Because at this point, what we're doing is we're setting in a curl volume, just the same way you do with your Marcel irons. So like when you do a Marcel iron set, unless you're doing like a quinceañera, you're going back in there and you're combing those curls out, you're placing them where you want them, finishing out that style. So don't be alarmed if it's like messy and crazy looking. Other tips and tricks for round brushing. When you're round brushing, your blow dryer does not go straight down on the brush. Your blow dryer tilts, and it should be hitting you either in the chest or the belly button. Why you won't see very many hairdressers wear necklaces, because I've gotten burned by a necklace from a round brush before, like legit on the chest right here. So make sure that your airflow is going over the top of your brush and not like down onto or pushing up the cuticle, right? And you'll see people do this here too, but ends up tons of flyaways, because if your airflow is not following like your hair flow, you won't have that smooth outcome. So all the way through, all the way through, all the way through. I'm gonna wait until I get up onto the widest point of the occipital before I start locking my brushes. Generally, unless you're setting in something for like an up style where you know you're gonna be pulling your hair all the way up, you're not gonna be getting a ton of volume right here in the nape, right? Because then it's gonna sit like far away from their head. So I won't start building those big volume curls until I get up to the widest point. Yeah, so we're gonna work through that. Do you guys have any questions about what I'm talking about?
Yeah, would you ever use your straightener for like a finishing tool?
Sure, absolutely. After a round brush, certainly. Especially if you've got like little Miss Ma'am comes in and her hair's, you know, fried, dyed, laid to the side, and those ends are crispy. I would absolutely come back in with maybe like a dry conditioner spray or like a shine spray through the ends and hit it with a little bit of a smoothing iron. Yeah, totally. One of the benefits of a round brush is it's got so much tension on it, right? Which is a great thing because it gets that wavy hair nice and smooth. It gets that like straight hair, keeps it good and shiny. It can add some curl to it. But something we have to remember is especially after like a lightning service, so somebody comes in and gets a full head highlights, or somebody comes in and does a double process and they go all over lighter. The tension on your round brush has the potential to break that hair when it's wet. So using this on, like, you can absolutely round brush, but you got to do it on dry hair, right? And at that point, depending on, you know, the state, because it's just been through a chemical service, right? Depending on the state of the hair and the integrity of the hair, you may not want a round brush. You may want to just go in and do like smoothing iron curls. You may put your volume in with your pre-dry instead of like focusing on it with your round brush, just because of the amount of tension that's on these. Because if you guys get these, right? The ion round brushes in your kits, the black and silver ones, or do y'all get the blue, the Neuro ones?
Yeah, we got those ones.
Okay, so if you are actually looking at your round brush and you look at the bristles really close, you'll see that they're almost like bumpy. So they're like a corkscrew that's built to literally grab hair and give it extra tension. So, which makes it awesome because then the more tension you put on hair, the faster it gets dry, generally speaking. So, which is great, but we have to make sure that we're, you know, paying attention to the integrity of the hair. If somebody's just had like a relaxer service, right? The amount of tension on this after a relaxer service has the potential to break, like cause some more extra breakage. But generally you're not gonna see like the snow flurries, which, I mean, if you've ever seen like the ends of hair like breaking and kind of floating around in the air whenever you're blow drying, yeah, those are at somebody who's like, I want highlights, but now I want to be blonder. Oh, let's go blonder again. And then you're lightening on top of lightening to get them lighter and lighter and lighter. And then all of a sudden you're blow drying and you're like, yes, it's great. It's getting shorter. Look at all this texture. It's a little choppy now, you know? So yeah, gotta be a little careful with those. But then, so what size do you guys get? Y'all get the small and the large, or the medium and the large?
Medium and large.
Medium and large, okay, cool. So there's also an extra large in the Ion series, which is really awesome. And using the medium brush on any length of hair that's like longer than, say, shoulder blade, maybe collarbone length, you got to be real careful when you're locking your brushes, because that's a lot of hair on top of hair on top of hair. So making sure that your sections are neat, very clean whenever you're rolling up and you're actually setting the hair on the brush. Because if you get out to these ends and then all of a sudden something falls off the side where you've got like hair that came out and you keep rolling, you can end up getting it stuck, right? So we got to be careful about our section width. So the width of your section not being wider than the width of the bristles on your brush. If that makes any sense. Cool. So the assignment for today, after I finish dropping my brush, the assignment for today is to wash, pre-dry, and round brush. I would like for you all to try locking your brushes. Take a picture of a locked brush. Get out there and adventure a little bit before you do it on a people head. Yeah, so I want you to show me off base, which is, remember, pull it down to your belly button. Half base, pull straight out. And on base, pull up, right, to create more volume. So I want to see all three of the base placements in your blow dry. And, you know, blow her out and make her beautiful. And if you would like to go back in and do a little bit of smoothing, that kind of thing, to finish out your style, you are absolutely welcome to do that. Make sure that we can see the date in your pictures that you take your before, during, and after. And if you guys have already started on this and didn't take a picture of her wet, make sure you go back in and take a picture of the before, so the wet service. Yeah.
Hey, Teresa, I have a question before you finish up.
Absolutely.
Can you show like a slow-mo of you locking that brush in place?
Mm-hmm. Of course. Let me see if I can get closer. Is it better closer?
Yes.
Okay, let's try it. So this is unlock, right? So I'm really just unrolling the hair completely off of the brush. Ooh, I did the one where, okay. Thought I got it stuck. Okay, so if I'm gonna lock this brush, I'm gonna go all the way out to the ends of the hair. And I'm using heat, right? My blow dryer is here and it's heating this hair. I'm keeping lots of tension on it. And I'm literally just rolling, like if I started at the ends of the hair with a Marcel iron and rolled it up. So I'm just gonna roll this up toward the scalp. And as soon as I get about an inch away from the scalp, I'm gonna lift, twist, and drop.
Beautiful.
Thanks. All right, any other questions? No? Okay, cool, cool. Well, I can't wait to see your beautiful blow.